Welcome to Life Picks Relationships, helping you understand and enliven your marriage through the various perspectives and experiences of others who found a way to prioritize what's really important in life. From new love to those that have weathered the storms, let's get ready to take your relationships to the next level with your host, ST.
Hey, Life Fixers, hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to better understand yourself, your partner, and your marriage? Well, today we're also going to understand your teenager. I know teenagers are so complicated. There's so much going on there, and it has a big effect on your marriage. So if you enjoy this episode, don't forget to share with your family and friends so they too can understand their teens better and improve their relationship. And you'll be helping us reach our goal of 1 million downloads per episode by the end of 2025. So for today's guest, someone who is so qualified to speak about this, she's been a high school teacher for 18 years, had 3 kids of her own who are now all young adults, and coaches teens. She's like a teen coach. You know, there's like life coach, there's success coaches. She specializes in teenagers. That's fun. No, you can go and connect with her on our website at reneesinning.com. I'm going to put all her links in her show notes so you can go and find out more about exactly what she does. Thank you so much, Renee, for being here. I'm super excited to be speaking with you. You want to start by telling us how you met your husband?
Yeah. So first, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. Yeah, my husband and I have been married for 30 years. I actually met him in 6th grade when he liked me, but I did not yet like boys in 6th grade. So he did have a crush on me. I was a new girl at my elementary school and he had a little crush on me, but I was not interested at the time. And then we went to the same high school, but we were in different, it was a big school. So we were just like in different worlds. So we never really interacted at all in high school. And then when we were in college in 1986, we were both lifeguards at different pools. And I remember seeing him one summer, the summer before we started dating. I saw him and I was like, oh, that's Scott Sinning. He's pretty cute. But that was it. Like we said hi, didn't really know each other. And then the following summer, we actually ended up working at the same pool. And so that's when we started dating, the summer of 86. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you've married 30 years or you've been together for 30 years?
We've been together more like 35 years.
Oh,
this
wow.
summer, so we dated about 5 years before we got married. And this summer in August, we'll be married for 30 years. So we've really been together for like 35 years, which is crazy.
Crazy. Well, congratulations on that. You know, I hear that very often, 30 years. Like once you hit the 20 mark, there's just not many of that. So it makes me like really happy when I hear such things. And I'm going to be curious to know how that affected together with the work you do. But first, before we get into that part, especially, how did you get into specifically parenting with teens? Like why teens over regular parenting and things like that?
Yeah. So I'm actually I call myself a teen life coach and a parent partner. And so I'm a certified life coach. I work with teenagers. And if you're working with teenagers, you're always also working with the parents. And the reason I chose that is because I was a high school teacher for 30 years. I mean, not 30 years. I was married for 30 years. I was a high school teacher for 18 years. And so I saw a lot of teens fall through the cracks. I've had like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conversations with parents of teens. And it's really important, that connection between the two of them is really important. And I found a lot of parents struggle to know what to do with teenagers, especially today. So I started teaching in 1991 and I retired from the classroom in 2019, taking years off to raise my own kids. But it changed. Like the kids changed, not at their core, but just in, what
society and the way we view the world and
yes. Yeah, teenagers are still teenagers, like that piece is still there. But the kind of the parent-teen dynamic, that relationship changed. Like when I was younger, it was black and white. Like the parents had this role and the teenagers, had this role. There wasn't really that kind of intermingling. And now, and it's as time went on through the years in the classroom, a lot of parents really wanted to be their teenagers' friends, like that. It became more gray, that relationship, that parent-teen relationship. And that can cause a lot of problems because teenagers, they need boundaries and they need they need the parent to be the parent and not their friend, because there will come a time from that. That doesn't mean you don't get along with them and have fun. It just means we have to separate those roles a little bit. And so
your parent, your parents not your friend. You have a friend and you have parents. You need both of them.
Yeah, but it's got a little gray over the years. And I think, and I don't really know why that is. I haven't studied that, but maybe because more parents are working. Maybe that's not why. Maybe just because teens have changed so much, society has changed, what they have coming at them. And so I'm just super passionate about working with teenagers that fall through the cracks, because a lot of them just aren't getting the support they needed. And so, but I also work with the parents. Like, they're totally intertwined. Like, I'm a teen life coach, but anytime I'm working with a teen client, I'm like partnering with the parent. I have regular contact with them, and they have an opportunity to talk to me and vent, and I do a little bit of parent coaching too, because stuff comes up. And nothing teen surprises me. I've either seen it, experienced it myself, or been privy to in the classroom or through a client. Like, there's nothing in teen world that would surprise me. And so it's really easy to open up those lines of communication and share my experiences with parents and help them, because I've seen it all.
Seen everything. Yeah. Being that many years in a classroom. And how many kids do you have?
I have 3. My kids are now 20, 22, and 26. And so my 22-year-old, so it's girl, boy, girl. So my son is 22, and he was that fall through the cracks kid. And so not only have I seen
middle
it in
child,
the classroom,
right? He's
middle. He's also,
that's where it happens. I from my personal experience, I see it happens like the most. I don't know if it's like professionally, like whatever, proven like that, but I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, it's just, but he's also the only boy. He's sandwiched between 2 high performing girls. We adopted him from Russia when he was a baby. He has ADHD. So his world is just like so much different than the girls, just like in like who he is. But I mean, the adoption piece of it is like no big deal. Like
he was little. How old was he when you adopted him?
He was 7 months. And
so he doesn't remember anything before.
He doesn't remember it. And it hasn't, I mean, we make it a positive thing. So, I mean, it's open conversation, and that's never been an issue or a challenge. But he has other issues and challenges. Like he has ADHD, he had Asperger's. So getting through school he was that fall through the cracks kid. So I'm like super passionate about helping teens, because a lot of times when our kids are struggling and you go to the doctor says therapy or medication, which is 100% the right answer for some kids. And our son was in therapy for 4 years, and he went off the rails because that wasn't the solution for him. So I'd love to empower parents and let them know that there are other modalities that can help your teenager. And therapy is one, medication is one, but teen life coaching is super powerful because it's all about forward progress. Like, I'm not a medical doctor.
Yeah. So that's the difference between therapy and coaching. Exactly that. Yeah. So what type of things do you do specifically with a teen for what they need? Like, why are you different than a regular life coach?
I mean, part of the reason it's different is because I just thoroughly get them. You know what I mean? Like,
which I have another question. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
How do you know that you really like, right? You're older than them, you're a different generation than them. And when you were a teen, things were different. How do you know you really know what they're thinking and how they're feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I know everything that they're thinking and feeling.
Every child's going to be different. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm very good at seeing through their armor. Like, all teens show up with armor. They show us what they want us to see. And I'm really good at seeing, because I've done it. I've had over 2,100 teenagers in my life sitting in my classroom in front of me for 180 days a year. And that part of teens hasn't changed. Like, the insecurities and how they show up, like that doesn't change. So most of what I work with my teen clients, most of what they come to me with is because they're insecure, they have low self-esteem, they have low self-confidence, and they don't really know why. And they're like stuck. And so I know how to, I'm just good at connect. I'm not being like obnoxious. I'm just good at connecting.
No, totally not. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. No, I just get them. Like, even though, I mean, my youngest is 20, so it wasn't that long ago that she was a teenager. I only retired from the classroom in 2019. And I have teen clients. So I'm still in teen world. I'm just not in it as a teacher. So I'm just still there. I still have my foot in that world. And it's just about here's the bottom line. Teenagers want to be seen, heard, and valued. And if they feel like you
like old
get
people,
them,
no?
yes. Yeah. But if they feel like you understand them and you get them and you're there to help them, they open up. And so you need that communication there and that connection in order to get them to trust you. And so, yeah, that's really the key. And then whatever they need help on is what I help them on.
Yes. So
it's different for everyone. It's customized.
Yeah, that's for sure. But what do you find as like the main problems keep on coming up with teens that you go and you help them with?
Yeah, the main problem is low self-esteem. They have so many messages coming at them from parents, schools, society, social media. They just have, and it's not all the same. So I've had teenagers tell me, oh, I got dressed up. I thought I looked cute. And then I opened up my phone. I saw something on social media. And all of a sudden, I feel like I'm not pretty, or I'm not good looking, or I'm not smart enough. It's really the bottom line. When what I found in my experience with my teen clients is if we can shift their perspective and help them to kind of see all the amazing things that are in them, because teens are awesome, and just and we have to unravel the stories that they tell themselves. They tell themselves stories. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. No one likes me. Good enough. Like those stories. And they get that from so much of the messaging that comes at them, like subconsciously. It's not that someone's saying you're not good enough or you're not pretty enough.
Yeah, usually, right. It comes in through other nonverbal ways or other ways. So what do you tell parents? How could they go and support their children to really go and have that good, healthy self-esteem and just feel good about themselves?
Yeah. The one thing I tell parents all the time is you cannot acknowledge and validate them enough. Like teens want to be seen, heard, and valued. So when you have a teenager and they're like in a bad mood, acknowledge that. I can see you're a little upset today. You're acknowledging it. It makes sense that you feel that way based on You're validating it. I remember when I was a teen and then kind of like, do you need space? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want my advice? And it's really, if you kind of let them know that you see them and you hear them and you value, because it's easy as a parent to get triggered. We're in it. And when our teens are like annoying or they're, not listening or they're just being rude, it's so easy as a parent to get triggered. Like I've been there, I raised 3 kids. And to kind of lose your marbles as a parent, instead of like stepping back and taking a breath. I actually have a method I created for parents. It's called the WIN method, which I can share with you if you want to.
Yeah, I'm really curious.
It's a way of helping them kind of create a deeper relationship with your teenager, because a lot of parents think, not a lot, but some parents think that they are, they have a good relationship with their teen, but all what they're really doing is communicating with them versus having conversations. And communication is like surface level, and it's important, like where you're going, who you're going to be with, do you have any homework? Like we need that information, right? As parents of teens, we need to know that, but that doesn't build those deeper connections. And so that takes conversations. But to get to those conversations, teenagers have to trust you. And even though they're your parent, that doesn't mean they're going to trust you. You have to build that trust, And so I actually created a 5-day challenge for parents, free, called building. It's called the all that. But
sorry, you got cut out. What's it called? You got 1 second. You got cut out. What's it called?
It's called Better Connection with Your Teen Challenge, and it's 5-day challenge. It's on my website. So a 5-day free challenge, but I actually give them 10 days of access. And there's a workbook that goes through it. And it's all about kind of recognizing what teens need and how you're showing up as a parent, which a lot of times we don't know. We're just going through the motions, doing the best we can, not really thinking about how we're relating to them and what they need and because if a teenager's angry or ticked off at us, when we know we didn't do anything, it's easy to get triggered. But if we can kind of step back and say, not take it personally, and look at, I wonder what's going on. If they're mad, if they're angry, something's going on in their life, there's a reason why. They may or may not want to talk to you, and they may take it out on you. And a lot of parents take that personally, which is normal human emotions, but we take that personally. And then it ends up into this argument where nothing's going on, nothing good's going to come of it. And so this challenge that I created is kind of about just ideas, like things to remember, like about how we grew up, what they need, what you need. And the win method is at the end of the challenge, but I can still share that with you if you want. And I just think it's really powerful because I created this like recently. And so I didn't necessarily follow it when I was a parent. So some of this is from experience looking back. Like I did some of it, but I know I didn't do all of it because I didn't have all these. When I was raising my kids, I wasn't a certified life coach and I didn't, I spent like 500 hours in my coaching certification. So I didn't know all this stuff before.
Right.
I knew a lot as a teacher.
Naturally,
parent,
just from being a parent. Yeah.
Naturally. Yeah. Between teaching and parenting, I knew a lot, but I didn't necessarily see things from both perspectives completely. And so that's why I created this because it's really powerful. So now I've gotten good feedback on it. So
cool. Okay. Yeah. So what is it?
Okay. So the WIN method. So it's WIN. So W stands for, and this is 3 keys to a deeper relationship with your teenager. And so W stands for take a look within, meaning this is questions to ask yourself. Like, am I showing up in a way that's open and inviting? Am I clear on what I want out of each interaction with my teenager? Like, do I just want to know where they're going, when they're going to be back? Or am I actually looking for a deeper connection? Because if you go into a conversation looking for a deeper connection,
going to come across really differently. When you're asking your teen, why are you going there? Just because like you need that information versus like you want to connect with your child, the conversation, the words that you're going to say, your whole body language, everything is just going to be really different.
Right. So it's kind of like, go into those interactions being clear. And again, this is W, these are for yourself. Do I want communication with them or conversation, which are different, which I talk about in the challenge? And then what does my body language say? Like, check out your own body language. Are you looking at your phone? Are your arms crossed? That your body language says a lot. If you're talking to your teenager and your tone of voice is one way and your arms are crossed, I mean, what response do you think you're going to get? But we still don't always check in. So W is checking in with myself. And the other big one on W that I go to in the challenge is kind of diving into, am I aware of my own triggers to avoid conflict? So if you know the things that your teenager does that triggers you, and you're aware of that, well, then you can actually kind of catch yourself and maybe avoid some of those conflicts. So that's W. That's take a look within. I is be intentional in your interactions with your teenager and interact with them without expectation. You can't control how your teenager is going to react. So, and if you have expectation and you expect them to respond a certain way and they don't, then that could be a trigger. You get ticked off because you act like, oh, you don't care about anything. You're selfish. You don't appreciate anything. So you want to go into those interactions without expectation. You want to, again, acknowledge and validate, which I talked about before. You cannot do that too much. So this is I being intentional. Be present. Look for body language cues also from them. So W, check in with your own body language, but look for cues with them, because if they have their arms crossed and their eyeballs are rolling up into their head, maybe it's not a great time to have a deep conversation, right? So kind of pay attention to their body language too, and then get curious and ask questions, but don't judge them or yourself. Don't judge them on their response. Just kind of ask questions out of curiosity without being attached to the outcome, if that makes sense. That's N. And then that's I mean, that's still like kind of being intentional in your interactions. And N is nurture. Building relationships with your teenager, it takes time. Building and rebuilding takes time. Because if your relationship isn't in a good place, it doesn't mean that it can't get there. It just means it's going to take time. And then the other piece of it is do your part every day. Like, do what you can do and then wait, because you can't control their outcome and it takes time. So N is nurture. Remember,
like, you have to have patience for this, guys. It's going to be a long ride.
Yes. Remember that relationship building is a simmer, not a boil. So it's just like sit there and like take time. But in the meantime, and this is really important, prioritize your own self-care. And especially if you don't have that relationship that you want. So find time every day to do something for yourself. And I just think that's good for everybody's mental health, just in general, but especially when you have teenagers in your world and maybe you're wanting more than they're giving and you're trying to build or rebuild those relationships, kind of nurture yourself along the way, knowing that it's going to take time.
Yeah. Now, I think this win method, you've created it for teens, and I just see it working so well, but I also see it working fantastic with your partner, with your friends, with anyone else that you want to build a relationship with. It's the way to go. Teens, like, you have to, like a friend, you're like, okay, if I need to, I'll drop this friend, and you don't have that much time, and you don't care about that relationship as much, not to put down the relationship to a friend, but when it's like your own kid, then it's like, I need this so much. And with your husband or wife, the same thing. You totally just do this. If things are like rocky, look at the win method, each part of them, and see what you could go and do.
Yeah. And it is on if you do the challenge, it's there. So you can download it, print it, whatever, get a copy of it. And again, the challenge is free, and it's just valuable information. And you're right. I mean, I made this with teens and parents in mind. But yes, I've had other people tell me that this really, I mean, it's true. It really works with all relationships, whether it's with a spouse or a partner or even a friend. How am I showing up with my friends? And when teens are having friend issues, it's really good to bring awareness to them. Like, how do you
you'll teach teens about this win method to use with their friends?
So, yeah, I have. If it comes up, if that's their challenge, everything's customized. So I have had teenagers that are struggling with friendships. That's not everybody's issue. It's some issues, but it's powerful. It's part of coaching, really, that piece of it.
I love it. Okay. Now, when kids come for coaching, how does it affect their home life, their relationship with their parents, like from the kid point of view? And then I'm curious to hear that. And then I'm curious to hear if that affects their parents' relationship, like if there's like less tension at home and it's easier.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of parents come to me, is because, so personal example is our son, who, when he was I think he was like 17, 18, he went off the rails. He was seeing a therapist every week, and he still got in with the wrong crowd, and he just started doing drugs. And it affects the whole family. It affects the parent relationship, the parent-child relationship, and the spouse relationship or the partner, whatever that is, because they're bringing all this chaos into your home, and not all parents parent exactly the same. So we would have conflicts.
All parents parent really differently.
Yeah, right. And especially when there's chaos in the home, you really have to have that open communication and be open to each other's ideas within that partnership, whatever that looks like. And so for coaching, that's why I don't coach just teens. That's why I'm also a parent partner, because I'm working with the teens on whatever their stuff is. And I do keep that confidential unless something comes up where they're going to harm themselves or someone else, or something I'm really very worried about. Then I'll go to the parents, and everyone knows that up front. But for the most part, it's confidential what I work on with the teens. But I'm still contacting or in contact with parents every single week and giving them an overview. Like, hey, this is what we talked about this week. This might be some things you could do. But also through my coaching, parents have access to me. I give these 20-minute unlimited with an asterisk, but they've access to me. So if something comes up with a parent, they can just say, hey, can we hop on a call for 20 minutes? I just need to vent, or this is going on. How do I handle it? And so that's where I'm kind of there to support both of them. Or my son did this, my daughter did this, or this is going on. So I'm coaching the kid weekly, but the parent has access to me. So when stuff comes up, I'm able to give them ideas, either parent to partner, parent, either the adults,
right?
And say, if they might come to me and say, hey, my husband and I, or my partner and I, were fighting about this, and how do you think we should handle it? And I'm able to give them that perspective, because I'm not ingrained emotionally in the world. And so that's kind of how it works. So the coach, it just naturally, it's going to make things better in the house, assuming the kid is engaged. So I only work with teens that want to do it.
You can't help anyone who doesn't want to get help. No. So
and same with the parents. But I mean, people are not going to invest in coaching unless they value it and are willing to do the work anyhow. So I haven't run into a problem where it hasn't worked. Like, coaching just works. And especially because I'm also working with the parents.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a two-way street. So
it's not like you're forced to go to school and you have to do this work.
Right. And but it could take time. It doesn't mean we hop on a call for a day and next week's fine. It can take time, and it takes time for teenagers to open up. Some teenagers right out of the gate, they're telling me their whole life story, and other ones, it takes them 4 to 6 weeks. before they trust me. And it's like pulling teeth at the beginning because they don't know me. And so it makes sense. So every kid is different. The process works. And yeah, the whole idea is to have less chaos in the house, more peace. And we all want our kids to be happy. So when our kids are happy and they feel good about themselves, just naturally things are going to calm down and be more peaceful. If they're the right client for coaching, if there's other stuff going on, like, trauma or abuse or deep seated, then they need to talk to a therapist and not a coach. But the stuff that I do, relatively short amount of time, can make things a lot less chaotic. And my son's a perfect example. He was in therapy for 4 years, went off the rails. House was in chaos because of him. He brought so much stress and angst into our world because he was doing drugs. But then we put him in a program, and it was like a drug treatment program. He wasn't an addict. He was an abuser. He was just poor choices. It was a treatment program, but it was a coaching setup. He was really being coached. And in 3 months, his whole world changed, and he never went back to that. Like 3 months, he actually quit the program at 3 months, and he was 18. So we couldn't do anything about it, but he never went back to that mindset that he had before. So not only do I know it works just for me as being a coach, but like we experienced it in 3 months. From like Memorial Day weekend, and he quit. We made him go Memorial Day weekend, and then he quit himself, which we weren't happy about, of course. But that was like early September, like right after Labor Day. But he never went back to that where he was, that anger and just like he was mean. He was on drugs. He was mean and nasty and all that stuff. But he never went back. It was like 4 years of therapy versus 3 months of coaching for him, because that's what he needed.
Right.
And I'm not anti-therapist at all. We spent 4 years there. I think some kids need that. They're medical professionals. I am not a medical professional. I just have a lot of experience with teenagers through teaching and my
different people, different things.
Coaching.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I'm curious from a personal perspective, what was your relationship like with your husband during that stressful time when he was on drugs and the whole house was full of tents versus what happened afterwards once things were much better?
It was stressful. It was stressful for all of us because we were all worried about our son, but we parented differently. I think I was harder on him because I had higher expectations. My husband was more of a softie, felt like he had to protect him. So we had different parenting styles. And so it's like the only thing we argued about was Nick, our son. And it's like, it was so frustrating we were all so entrenched in this world of just like stress and worry and his negativity that, we had conflict, nothing major, like earth shattering that was going to shatter our relationship, but we weren't in a happy place, because there was all kinds of just little conflicts, and we all wanted the same thing, but we parented differently. And it was hard because you're so emotionally entrenched in it that it's hard to like separate that, because at that point it was about like getting Nick help. Like, we know he's going down this terrible, terrible path. And so our goal was on him, not on each other. But you don't really notice that at the time. You're just kind of going through the motions, like, there's conflict. And so you're just, it is what it is. You're just in that world at that moment. And so but once we put him in the program, and that program was great too, because they had a whole parenting piece to it, which is why in my coaching, it's important to me to also support the parents. So while he was doing his stuff, like once or twice a week, we went actually to the same program, but we were with all these parents who were going through the same thing. And so it was super helpful to have that parenting piece and that got us back on track. We just naturally came back on track. But really, when you have different parenting styles, it can add conflict in a family. If you have different parenting styles and your kids are not in chaos, it's a lot easier to work through, because you can take a step back and you're more open to maybe seeing the other person's viewpoint and hearing each other out.
It's not like emergency right now, we need help versus I prefer things differently. So your husband in general has a different parenting style. Like, how did that work with your relationship?
He does. He's just more of the softie, and I'm more of the, I always say it's the Italian in me, but I'm not Italian at all. I don't know. I think because maybe I taught high school and I taught teenagers. And so I had 30 teenagers come into my classroom every 50 minutes. And so I know how to get them focused and on task and how to work with them. And I kind of think I felt more like I know what they can handle. And he was just more of he's more of a softie. He's more of like a protector. Instead of the dad being the like disciplinarian, which is often has always been the what's the word? When it's like the typical thing, I can't think of the word, but instead of it was always, I was more me. That's more like my personality anyhow. And so he was more the softie.
Okay, no problem. What works for each.
But it worked. It worked for
exactly.
us. Not that I wasn't mean. I was just
no. You can't be mean using the win method. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but I was just more of that.
Right.
So we did. We even as adult kids, we have different parenting styles, but we don't have to parent them so much anymore. But sometimes we'll just have conversations, and his viewpoint is different than mine. Doesn't matter because they're adults now, so it's 10,000 times easier. But yeah, we didn't have major conflicts. Like our differences weren't major. They weren't to the point that we couldn't, we worked it out.
Yeah.
But from time to time it caused conflict and we just would have to figure it out. And we did, because you do.
You are where you are today because of it.
Yeah.
What does he think of your coaching business now? Probably should be asking him, but he's not here.
Yeah, no, he's not here. No, he loves it. He because I retired from the classroom in 2019 in May. And when I retired, I was already coaching, but I was coaching just adults, like whoever. I wasn't really building my business.
A full business, yeah.
Because I was teaching and I was coaching adults. And then I retired from the classroom and I was like, I'm going to coach adults. I'm going to take a break from teens. And so I spent maybe 6 months kind of building my business and going out and telling people I was coaching adults. It never really felt right. And I don't think, and my energy wasn't there because I have coaches of my own. So I have 2 coaches of my own. And finally, it just I kept getting these little pings in my brain, these signs just saying you're supposed to be teaching, you're supposed to be coaching teens, not adults. And finally, luckily, no one told me that. And I was able to, I needed to take that journey.
That yourself. Yeah.
Yes. Because if he had told me, what are you doing? I'd have been not happy because I'm a little bit bullheaded. And so, but about last January is when I was like, what am I doing? I think I'm going to work with teens. And everyone that knows me was like, yeah, no kidding. And my husband was like, yeah, it's about time. But no one said anything. So, and it felt right. I just still felt like I needed to take maybe that breather and that little side road to say, I'm going to coach adults. No, I really don't want to. What I really want to do is work with teens. That's what I've been passionate about my whole life. And so that's how I kind of got to where I am. And so, yeah, he loves it. I mean, he knows, he's totally supportive. He knows, I have such a soft place in my heart for teenagers. It's just it's what fills my bucket. And he knows that. And so, yeah, he's totally supportive. So
cool. I love it. Most people think of teenagers as these hard, impossible people to deal with. And you're like, no, they're awesome. Yeah. I like it so much. You really just didn't know how to talk to them, how to be there for them and how to understand them. So you could see their greatness. Okay. Yeah. So for our final question, how would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, connection, or trust?
Communication
with connecting, but you can't say connecting.
I can't say connecting. I can say, you said without saying what?
Love, connection, and trust.
So I would say knowing the difference between communication and conversation, like I've said, that's super important. And respect, right? Respecting and supporting each other.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of seeing the other person, just like I said, with teenagers want to be seen, heard, and valued. So do adults.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We all want that. And so with a partner in any relationship, they too want to be seen, heard, and valued. And so it's just about supporting them, communicating on the things that you need to communicate about, but having those deeper conversations to build that word that you said that I can't say.
Yeah. Right? So guys, now you want to go back and listen to this whole episode again, and not from a perspective of parenting, but from a perspective with your partner. How could replace every single time it says your child, or your teen with your spouse, and works just the same.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that.
Well, thank you so much, Renee. This was amazing.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
That's all for this episode of Life Picks Relationships, and we have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support this show, but also give others what they need to take their marriage to the next level. We're striving to have 1 million downloads per episode by December 31st, 2025, So please share it with your family and friends so they can turn their relationship into an extraordinary one.